Hello and welcome to the latest Education Information. This week we're looking at a report that's come out from the Leadership Foundation for Higher Education, which has asked HEPI, the Higher Education Policy Institute, to come up with a paper moving away from its usual policy-focused area to answer the question, universities are now irresistible creatures of the markets. HEPI then asked two notable commentators on higher education, Professor Roger Brown, the former Vice-Chancellor of Southampton Solent, and also Professor Peter Scott, currently Vice-Chancellor of Kingston University, to consider the question to what extent universities are now creatures of the market. Certainly on first reading, both Roger Brown and Peter Scott had slightly different approaches to considering the role in which the market plays in higher education presently. Roger Brown certainly commented on how the market already has a place within higher education. Obviously there's a market in student fees, but also there's a market within student support, and we've already commented consistently throughout the year how the inequalities and the faulty system of bursary allocation means it's a very difficult system for students to navigate currently. But as well as the market which students face, there's also a clear market amongst institutions themselves. We see a growing culture of league tables, universities ranked against one another in a whole host of areas, from teaching quality through to their research capabilities. And certainly universities are very aware of themselves in a market environment and very sensitive to the market in which they operate. But perhaps something that many people don't realise is actually that there's also a market within staff. Institutions are increasingly looking to offer staff lucrative financial packages in order to try and lure them to their own institutions, and what we're seeing now is that staff as well as students are starting to navigate a system, a market within higher education. Roger Brown isn't completely critical of markets in higher education, but he's clear to make the point that there needs to be the right balance between the role that markets play, but also the role that the state has in overseeing higher education. He makes the point that the right balance needs to be struck, and that going ahead to the 2009 review, there's a real danger that markets will overcome the state and will become too powerful. We need to be clear that there needs to be the right balance between markets and regulation, and that any potential lifting of the cap could see a system where the market overrides and it will be irreversible to something that we can't turn back. Turning to Professor Scott, I think he's a stronger advocate of the market and champions the role in which it plays in higher education presently. He makes the point that inevitably markets will play a role in higher education. Students have a choice in terms of the institution that they go to, and he believes that the expansion of higher education only serves to strengthen the market and ensure that allocation is made more efficient and more effective. He doesn't completely disagree with Professor Brown, but feels that the role of the market can be useful in its allocation. Certainly I think it's a really interesting report overall and provides two perspectives on the way in which markets have a role or not to play in higher education. I think markets and their role, or lack thereof that shouldn't be, will be a central point as we approach the fees review in 2009. NUS is very adamant that markets shouldn't be playing a role in higher education, and students shouldn't be making their choices about where they study based on whether they can afford to be there, but rather should be making their decision on whether this is the right institution for them and the right subject for them to study. You can check out all our other education informations on our website www.officeronline.co.uk/education.